but I just couldn't help it. I just got up and I walked over. I knew him. I said, listen, bro, you're fucking loud. You're in our fucking club, bro. Watch how the fuck you talk. He said, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? I said, you. Look around you. You're in our fucking club. If you don't talk the right way with Toddo, you may never get out of this fucking club.
I'm James Gladwish from OC Shorts, and today I have the pleasure of talking all things mob related with none other than Sammy the Bull Gravano. Myself and Sammy have been chatting, and I'm very excited about the prospect of working together moving forwards.
Well, I feel the same way. We had a lot of conversations, and we're going to collaborate working together. James is a tremendous interviewer, and he gets a lot of information, great information. You know, he don't get caught up in all the garbage. He just tells it like it is, and I like that, and that's what we're going to do, and I think it's going to be great.
So, Sammy, you've been a prominent figure on YouTube for a while now. What are your thoughts on the current state of the mob genre?
Well, I've heard Michael Francis talk about it, and I have my own opinion on it, that it's really falling apart. It's a big genre. Everybody watches it. A lot of people watch it. There's all kinds of bullshit coming out. You know, people are not just talking about their history in the mob, their story. They're talking and arguing with one another, which I think is completely crazy. And I think it's destroying it. It makes it look like a joke. And I think they're hurting themselves with all this stuff. You get a lot of these guys, they don't have a story. All they do is knock people. So I'm dead against that. I agree with Michael Francis, what he said, and I feel the same exact way. That's why talking with you is a pleasure. That's not something you do. You look for facts. You tell a story. People appreciate your time and effort and the truthfulness of your stories. So that's what got me interested. So I hope that continues, not only from what we're doing, but all around the whole genre.
Fantastic. That's very kind of you to say. Today, I thought we'd cover a selection of topics. A couple from your time with the Gambinos, and a couple more from when you were an associate with the Colombo crime family. I thought we'd start with the killing of Gambino soldier Anthony Shorty Mascuzio. So, just to give a bit of background for those watching, in June 1988, Gambino soldier Anthony Shorty Mascuzio was shot to death by a nightclub owner that he was extorting. What can you tell us about Anthony Mascuzio from your memories? What was he like as a man?
Well, he was a tough guy. There's no two ways about it. He was a made guy, a friend of ours. And they had this strip club, and I think he was one of the people who had it. He went there. There was an argument with the owner, something. The owner got scared. He had a gun in his drawer, in his desk, pulled the gun out, shot him, and actually killed him in the club. And, you know, I remember a lot of guys talking about it, and they wanted to get revenge. Here's a guy who just killed a made guy. He knows he was a made guy. He killed him. And our rules in our life is revenge. We got to kill him. He knew who he killed. He took that chance, and he's got to go. John Gotti, I don't know why, but didn't give the order, wouldn't give the order, and there was a hoo-ha about that. Everybody was talking about, why aren't we retaliating? I couldn't figure it out. I never got an answer from him, so I don't understand it. I think that he may have intervened and made some sort of a peace agreement with the guy, and that we, the Gambino family, would still be running this thing. The guy copped out, and he was scared, and whatever he said. Really, it's not an excuse. But I think one of the factors they talked about, I think John Jr., his son, took it over directly. Maybe that was part of his thinking of not getting even. He put the guy with his son. Everybody walks away happy. But John didn't get a lot of good remarks behind his back. A lot of people were saying, what we're supposed to do is kill the guy. And we didn't.
Well, Shorty Mosquito was actually been a driver for John Gotti. I think he actually drove him away from the courthouse after his 1987 acquittal at one point. So I can imagine that, people were rubbed up the wrong way to a certain extent.
Right, right. I mean, he did drive John on occasion. He was around, no question about it. I think he's one of the guys who really originally took this place over. But I'm not sure on that. It had really nothing to do with that place. But this is things I was hearing in the background. And but he never got even. They had the club for a pretty long time. And I don't even know the outcome of it. I know John Jr. said he had it, he was running it, or whatever he was doing. So I don't know much more than what I just said.
Yes, so it was the Bedrocks nightclub, situated at 316 West 49th Street. The owner was a man called David Fisher. His real name was Al Roth. And you are exactly right. Shorty Mosquito and an unidentified individual went there on the 17th of June and allegedly started pistol whipping David Fisher, who was refusing to pay. Fisher then pulled his own gun and shot Shorty Mosquito in the jaw and chest, I believe. But, as you mentioned, nothing happened to David Fisher as a direct result of killing Anthony Shorty Mosquito.
No, nothing was done. I don't even remember, honestly, going to the funeral of the guy we lost. It was just low-keyed, wasn't a big deal for John for some reason. It's a big deal in Cosa Nostra, period. It reflected, I felt that it reflected in other families. If a guy like that could just kill one of our people in an argument, even if he got pistol whipped, I mean, it's a bad policy. Then anybody could do that. You have to seek revenge when it's necessary to show you can't do this and get away with it. So I think it was a bad move on John's part. There wasn't a lot of conversation about it. I mean, there was, but it was always behind John's back.
So there's an interesting story about Shorty Mosquito. Allegedly, he owned a cafe called the Gelato Cafe on Court Street in the Cobble Hill section of Brooklyn. And apparently, during John Gotti's 1987 trial, Mosquito arranged for sandwiches and snacks to be delivered to the vast crowd of supporters outside the courthouse during Gotti's trial. Do you have any memory of that at all?
I don't remember on the people on the outside. I know, and I'm not sure if it was him, maybe it was him. They sent in on a break. They sent in a lot of stuff, good food and stuff like that. John opened up the box. They were in the back room in front of the marshals, and he said, food looks really good, huh? Do you want some? And one of the marshals said, I wouldn't mind have a sandwich. And he threw the fucking thing on the floor, the box, the food, everything on the floor. So some guys thought that was funny. Some guys thought that you're just antagonizing the government over and over again to a point that of no return, which is horrible.
So moving back to your time with the Colombos, I'd like to talk about a specific individual who is often reported to have been quite greatly feared, and even Greg Scarpa once described him as mean. And this man was Charlie Moose Panarella. What are your memories of him?
Well, when I was in the Colombo family, I wasn't made, but I was with them in their war. I did my first piece of work with the Colombo family. I knew him well. He was a real nasty guy, tough guy. I believe he was a captain. Eventually, I got transferred out of the Colombo family and put into the Gambino family. And my guy was Toddo Aurello. He was a captain. I got made with his son, Charlie Boy. One night we were in the club, our club on 86th Street and in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. And Charlie came in there, Charlie Moose, and he was talking with Toddo, and it blew into a little bit of an argument. I remember the old man, Rizzo, was standing there talking with them, and he said, Toddo, come on, he wants to kill my son. So obviously the conversation was about killing Johnny Rizzo Sr.'s son, one of his sons. I'm not sure which one. The words got heated. He started becoming very, very aggressive, Charlie Moose, towards Toddo, towards Rizzo. Charlie Boy went to get up, and I put my hand on his leg. I said, bro, leave it alone. Your father's got this. We're here. Leave it alone. Don't get in the middle of this. And he sat down. I listened to it a little while longer, and it got even worse. He got louder. It was more abusive. And I actually told Charlie to sit down. I don't know why, but I just couldn't help it. I just got up, and I walked over. I knew him. I said, listen, bro, you're fucking loud. You're in our fucking club, bro. Watch how the fuck you talk. He said, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? I said, you. Look around you. You're in our fucking club. If you don't talk the right way with Toddo, you may never get out of this fucking club. Lower your fucking voice. Toddo grabbed me, said me, stop. Johnny Rizzo just shook his head. He says, all right, we'll take care of this at another fucking time. Yeah, we'll do whatever the fuck you want. Get the fuck out. And he left. And he did put me on record to his people and talked about how I talked and what I said. And I don't remember which guy it was, Sally Ebenezer, or one of them said, listen, Sammy was with us. He did fucking work with us. He fucking was in the war with us. Sammy's a tough guy. He's a friend of ours now. You go in a fucking club, and we understand that you were raising your voice to Toddo, the old man Johnny Rizzo, and Sammy got up. Told you to lower your voice. And then you got out of order with him. You're lucky you walk out of the fucking club. This kid's no joke. He's a fucking tough guy. So it kind of died like that. But that's all I really knew of him. He just had a bad fucking reputation. I know a lot of guys in the family, and when I was there, didn't like it. They tried to stay away from him. He was like a bully type of guy. He used his position, and he was real mouthy. But I never got into it with him again. No issues came of our argument, and that was about it.
So interestingly, in around 1980, it's alleged that Carmine Persico essentially exiled Charlie Moose to Las Vegas. Some sources state it's because Persico saw Panarella as a threat, and other sources state that it's because members of Panarella's crew had complained to the family's hierarchy about Panarella's cruel leadership style. There's an interesting story in 2001 involving Jackie DeRoss. You're familiar, obviously, with Jackie?
Sure, he was the underboss at one time.
Yeah, that's right. So in 2001, there was a union issue between the Genovese and the Colombos, and Jackie DeRoss brought in Charlie Moose to assist. Jackie DeRoss was then caught on a wiretap talking about Panarella. Jackie DeRoss said, Panarella would chop your fucking head off. He's an old man, but you know what? They still shit their pants about Panarella. So this shows that even in old age, Charlie Moose was still a greatly feared individual.
Yeah, he was a tough guy, no doubt about it.
So, sticking with your time with the Colombos, I've got a hypothetical situation. If you hadn't had your issues with Ralphie Spiro and weren't transferred to the Gambino family, which side of the Third Colombo War would you have been on? Carmine Persico's or Vic Arena's?
I would have definitely stayed with Carmine Persico. When I first became into the family as an associate, I was with Shorty Spiro, who was with Carmine Persico. My first hit was done on orders from Joe Colombo and Carmine Persico. I was in their war when they were fighting the war. So I would have, 99.9%, I would have stayed on his side. I don't see a reason why I would have went to the other side.
But I think you mentioned a conversation we had recently that you were actually nearly drawn into the war even when you were with the Gambinos. That's correct, right?
Yes, yes. At one point, Vicarina came to John Gotti, was talking with John Gotti. I was on the side. They were talking together. He obviously asked John if he was having trouble with Greg Scarpa Sr., and he was looking for help from John. John called me over, and he said, Sammy, could you take out Greg Scarpa Sr.? And I said, of course I could. He's in Brooklyn where I am, in Bensonhurst. There is a club. It's not really a club. It's a pool room, and he's always in that pool room. He sits at the counter when you first walk in, and there's tables all going all the way back. I could whack him in that place real easy. So he says, okay, do it. I started to set up. I got Huck, who was going to go in. He knew Larry Mazza. I think he was the owner of the pool room. And he was going to be playing pool. He would be armed. I would come in with ski masks, one or two guys, and I would kill Greg Scarpa right at the desk where he sat. John called me back and said, listen, the hit is off. And I said, why, what happened? He said, he came back, he's starting to feel, I guess he got advice from some of his people, if John Gotti or me do this hit, he's going to look weak to his family, and he don't want to risk that. He appreciates it, tells Sammy I appreciate it, and they backed up on the hit. I found out later that somehow somebody got to Greg Scarpa Sr. and told him that John Gotti gave me the hit and that I was going to take him out. I don't know how that happened, but I heard Larry Mazza say that, and they had guns, and they were actually waiting for me to come in. If I would have came in with a mask, all kinds of guys would have had guns. It would have been a massive shootout. Maybe I would have died. Who knows? But that's what happened with that, and we backed away.
So this was before the war fully erupted. You guys were arrested in late 1990, before the war was in full flow in 1991. So presumably, this hit on Greg Scarpa was a preemptive attack from Arena.
Yeah, what I heard is that Arena was going home one night, and when he got near his house, he saw a car parked with a bunch of guys in it. And he knew there was a lot of conversation. I guess this was at the beginning of the war, and maybe it didn't even start yet. He saw it, and he took off. They didn't get him. I forgot the guy. There was brothers. Johnny Pate was in one of the cars. Now, how I knew that, I did time with Johnny Pate. He was a captain in the family. He was in one of those cars. When I did time with him, he told me the story that he took off and we were going to get him. Then he told me, he says, we went upstate right away to stick together. We knew he knew, and the war was on. So it was probably right in the beginning of the war. And so that's what happened in that war. And that's about all I know of it. Like you said, I went into prison in 90, in December of 90. So this is a little bit before. Now, there was a lot of activity in that war, a lot of reasons why things happened and guys picked sides. Wild Bill was on one side, and he made a statement that Carmine Persico was a rat. Publicly made the statement. I was in jail, I believe, with John Gotti, and John Gotti said, that statement, they'll kill him for sure. Later on, they made him the underboss. to try to appease it. Jackie DeRoss was there. And they sucked him into that position and they killed him. So the war took all kinds of turns, and I believe it was Jackie DeRoss and Allie Boy Persico Jr. gave the order, and it was mainly for that reason. Now, why he called him a rat is that Junior, Carmine Persico, sent out that he wanted to, in the trial, I think it was the commission trial or something like that, he wanted to admit that there was a mafia and say, we're old guys, we do certain things, but we don't kill, we don't do this. He wanted to admit. It went to everybody. Nobody agreed with it. No one. Carmine Persico got the lawyer, was a Jewish guy, he got a lawyer to, while the trial was going on, admit. That night they got him when he came out of court, they grabbed him, they put a gun to his fucking head. Who told you to fucking admit that there was a mafia? And he said, Carmine Persico told me. So he went against everybody's wishes by making his lawyer do that. And that's why Wild Bill said openly that he's a fucking rat, because he made this guy do that. So, and then the war got complicated. Like you said, I was away for a while that war took place. And they were really shooting, everybody was shooting everybody in there.
So, hypothetically speaking, if you hadn't had the issues with Ralphie Spiro and remained with the Colombos and were inducted by them, do you think your mob career would have hit the heights that it did, you know, becoming an underboss?
No, I didn't get along with his son, Allie Boy Jr. And the whole thing was so fucking violent. That whole crew, that whole family, it was one murder after the other. The best thing I did was get transferred over to the Gambino family. When I went with Toddo, it was a whole, not that they couldn't kill you, but it was a different thing. It was about business, unions, making money. There was some violence, not as much, but the Colombo family under Junior, everything was, I had a contract to go beat up a guy when I was younger with Carmine. And I went there with Shorty, and he told me the guy owned a washing machine factory where they make commercial washing machines and dryers and stuff. And I was supposed to go beat him up because he fucked somebody's wife or something. And he told me, give him a good beating, Sammy, and bring his ear back. When I left the place, the club, with Shorty in the car, I said, bro, he really wants me to bring his fucking ear back? And he said, that's what he said. So, I mean, it's one thing to give a guy a beating. I'm going to cut his fucking ear off, too. You know, that's the level of fucking violence in that family. Everything was fucking super violent. Killed this guy, beat this guy up, shoot this guy, ripped this guy's fucking ear off. I mean, it was super fucking violent. So that's where I started in the Mafia with them. I was in their war. I hit the mattresses with them. But I was happy to get the fuck out, you know. So I definitely don't think I would have lasted in that family. I had a little violent streak in me myself. I was a tough kid. There's no way I would have survived them.
Fair enough. So we're moving back to your time with the Gambinos. I'd like to discuss a topic which is often quite controversial surrounding yourself, and it's the 1977 killing of 16-year-old Alan Kaiser. When people discuss this about yourself, they often say that this is one of the killings that was kind of left off when you had your arrangement with the FBI and the DA. But it is my understanding that you fully disclosed all events to the FBI and the district attorney when you made your deal. That's all correct, right?
Oh, without a doubt. That's something I talked about. And they, you know, there's guys out there like what we're just talking about, how they're distorting this genre, talking about each other and doing all these things. And You know, there's one where I was talking about I have no regrets. I was talking about a story that had nothing to do with anything like that. And then they put that in. You know, they said, here, look, he has no regrets. And he showed this kid's picture. Now, of course, I had regrets. They cut out my conversation. They just put in that one part. If you hear the whole conversation, you hear I do have regrets about a lot of things. Now, about that kid, there was a guy, there was a contract on him. I can't think of his name right now. And
Was that
that's the
Aldo
guy.
Candido?
Who?
Was it Aldo Candido?
Yes, that's him, Aldo. And he was the guy we had the contract on alone. We hunted him down and we caught him going into a house. We went and get guns. I had this guy, I had a beef with him. I got jumped. They broke my ankle. I had a cast from my foot all the way to my thigh. So I was laying in the back seat of the car, and Louis Melito was sitting in the passenger seat, and Toddo's nephew was sitting in the driver's seat. And I had said, when he comes out of that house, pull up, roll down the window and tell him, listen, we were on Kings Highway. Where's Avenue P? Like you're lost. When he comes over to the window to explain, I'm going to shoot him in the fucking face with the pistol. And then we'll get out and finish it. But he must have known the guy that they beat up was a made guy, was me. So when he did come out of the house with that kid, Alan Kaiser, it was his house. Louis rolled the window down and said, you know, asked for directions. He just immediately started running. The kid stood there. Louis jumped out of the car with a shotgun. Threw a shot. There was pellets in it. They probably used it to kill pigeons on the roof. They never reloaded it with regular slugs. It was birdshot. He got hit in the back and kept running. The guy driving yelled to Louis, Louis, you got your back. He turned around and he shot this kid, Alan Kaiser. Now they're saying that's not true, that I shot him. I had asked 100 times, let me see his autopsy report, if he was shot with a shotgun or a pistol. Now, I always said that if I had the angle and I wasn't in that position and I saw him running at Louis Melito, I would have shot him. I'm a backup shooter now. I would have definitely shot him, but that's what I got to do. But I didn't. Now, to dump on it, I say I dumped it on Louis. That does me no good whatsoever. I admitted to the murder, being part of the murder. Dumping it on Louis would do nothing for me. Nothing. Zero. And it was checked and double-checked by the FBI, state police, prosecutors. They don't want you going in and making a mistake or a lie. So that was checked over and over and over again. They'll say I never talked with the family, apologized. I said the next day when we got in and looked who got shot, that he was 16, we all looked at it like, oh my God. But it was like, why did this kid do that? Nobody was trying to kill him. No, he wasn't part of the contract. All he had to do was stand there or run back into his house or run the other way. We wouldn't have tried to kill him. The guy we tried to kill was the guy Aldo. That's the guy who was supposed to go. And it was looked at and researched by everybody. State police, federal organized crime, prosecutors. I'm sure they looked at autopsies, checked my story out if I'm telling the truth. And not one word was ever said. Now, I'll go a little further. Later on in life, my daughter spoke with his daughter, his sister, or his aunt. My son did too. My son was making arrangements for me to talk with them. I wanted to say, listen, I apologize. He wasn't meant to be hit. But they refused to talk to me, or it never happened. But, and being his age, these people who are fucking with me all the time, they want to make me look horrible. I didn't care. I killed a 16-year-old kid. Then I'm blaming Louis Molino. Why would I do all these things? Don't even make sense. There's nothing I cop to the murder. Whether I'm the guy who shot him or Louis shot him, to the government makes no difference. You're going to do life without parole. Makes no difference. And Louis is dead, so why would I dump it on him? To try to look good? To try to do... It just makes no sense whatsoever. And what really bothers me with this whole thing, occasionally I think about it, is that they'll drag this family through the mud again, over and over and over again, not to help them, to hurt me. They can give a shit less about these people, whoever's left, whether it's the sister, the aunt, or whoever it is. They can care less about them. They just want to drag it through the mud to make me look bad that I killed a kid, and then I blame Louis Molino. None of it makes sense. I'm actually, this is the last time I really want to discuss this. I'm discussing it openly, honestly. They said they have autopsy reports. Show me an autopsy report where he was shot with a shotgun or a pistol. Whether he was shot in the chest, the back, where? Show me. Don't just say that you got these documents. Show me them. The way it looked like to me, it looked like he got shot in the chest, the front, and when he went down, Louis put the shotgun to his head, I think, and pulled it. But you got to remember, I'm laying in a back seat, and I have an angle. Now, I could be wrong. I doubt it, but I could be wrong, the way I spotted it, the way it looked at to me. And I didn't see the kid running at Louis. It was the driver. And now they'll say he's blaming the driver. I'm not blaming the driver. The driver did what he was supposed to do. He's telling Louis there's a threat. The guy's coming at him. A backup shooter like me is supposed to shoot him. I couldn't get the angle or I would have shot him. So I'm not trying to back away from that situation in any way, shape, or form. But to respond to them, I don't want to respond to these people. And what they're doing is, if I do that, I make this worse and worse for this family. And my heart goes out to them to lose a 16-year-old kid. But if he was a 16-year-old kid and he was doing something crazy, I mean, I was a 16-year-old kid. And if I was in that situation, you better not underestimate me because I was only 16 years old. You would be making the biggest mistake of your life. And we had no idea how old he was, who he was. No reason to hurt him. I mean, we did a hits in front of 10,000 people with Castellano. Not one single person who wasn't supposed to die died. We do that intentionally. The last thing I want to do is whack somebody who there's no reason for me to whack them. So, and if I did, I admitted to murder, I would have said, yeah, I shot him. Yeah. It makes no difference in my time. I'm charged with the murder. Whether I shot him, whether Louis shot him, it makes no difference. There is no anything for me to lie about this thing. And I got everything to lose because if they catch me in a lie, my deal goes down the drain, I go down the drain. Why would I lie? It's just these people trying to hurt me and come up with this story. It sounds horrible. It is horrible. A kid who's not supposed to get killed was 16 years old. That's horrible. And I apologize to them. I did before. I'll do it again. I'm sorry that it happened. But that's the mafia, and that happens on occasion. But the story you're being told that you want to buy is bullshit. These people they don't care about you. They want to drag you through the mud. They want to drag his name through the mud. Only to hurt me. If you want to be part of that, go ahead. But know and understand, it's a myth. It's not true. So that's all I could say about that. And I don't think I ever talked about it this much before. But I know you're a fact finder. Check it out. Check my story out, James, and hold my feet to the fire. And I know you're
Okay.
capable of doing it.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good point to wrap up our first video together. And I very much look forward to the next time we can sit down and chat like this.
I love it. I think we're going to be more and more. Now that's up to our viewers, your viewers, my viewers. We're going to put this out together. And if the viewers love it, I like this guy. I have a lot of respect for him. And he's going to be almost like a co-host or something, our two stations. I think we're going to get along real good. And we're going to come out with information. And I love truth to the information. So I think if he's my partner or collaborator, whatever you want to call him, I got the perfect partner.